Let's talk about God in reality. You know, the scripture says to be in the world, but not to be of this world. I'm not quoting the entire verse altogether, but you guys know what I mean. When you declare your commitment to God, you have to be spiritually minded. But sometimes there are so many people that are so spiritually minded that they're no earthly good, to the point where they leave their senses. They don't pay attention to what's going on around them, and they just don't use common sense. And it's a sad thing. I spoke before about having a spiritual responsibility. Anytime you affiliate yourself with any type of religion or group and identify with that group, whether you're Jewish, Catholic, Muslim, Protestant, whatever the case may be, you have to understand, when you go out on these streets and you tell people you are of a certain faith, that's creating a certain mentality in that person's mind, and they're going to perceive you as associated with that particular group. And when you turn around and behave and conduct yourself in a way that's contrary to that, you are representing that group. And for you to go out here and say that, what you're doing is you are putting out a false narrative as to what the group is about. And the group that you're representing could be one of those groups that's trying to do everything that they can to help the community and to help develop an awareness and actually have a sense of social and moral obligation to the public and to the rest of the world. And if you're not properly representing them to people who don't know, you are creating a negative impression in that person. And you don't know who these people are. These may be the type of people who might go out and try to defame the entire denomination, defame the entire civic group, the entire social organization that you are a member of, simply because of the way you behave out here. My mother told me a long, long time ago, she said, be kind to everybody you see, because you don't know where those people came from and you don't know where they're going. How many times have they had, this is why the police is so successful when it comes to these sting operations. You watch that show on TV, I forgot the name of it, but you know which one I'm talking about, where the fella sets up the pedophiles on these dates with these undercover young people who pose as teenagers, and then they get caught in a sting operation. Or you hear something on the news from time to time about how there's a huge drug bust because there was a sting operation because they planted someone undercover. You can't look at anybody nowadays and tell. Now, I don't care what anybody tells you. These criminals think they know everything, this, that, and the other. I'm sorry, you can't look at nobody nowadays and think nothing. And one thing that I learned in the first week of psychology, and one of my professors told me, he said the first rule of psychology is when you're dealing with people is don't put anything past anybody. He said you could take that as negative or positive, because the power of the mind is something else. Don't put anything past anybody. And I don't. And I'm not saying that to be negative or anything like that. I'm saying it to be realistic. But on that same token, too, I'm a believer in God. It is possible for you to have a spiritual connection with your Creator and be a realistic at the same time. And see, that's the problem. A lot of people get in these, get indoctrinated to believe that, oh, well, just because I joined this organization, I can take leaves of my senses. But they fail to realize they still have to deal with the world every single day. I knew of a gentleman when I was coming up and that I went to church with, and he was a public servant. And he lost his job because instead of doing his job, serving the public like he was supposed to, when he got saved, he spent 8-10 hours a day preaching. That wasn't in his job description. That's not what he was paid to do. And they tried to do, he was actually in law enforcement. They took him off the streets and said, okay, we're going to have him go behind the desk. That wasn't good enough because everybody in the station that came in behind the desk for him to process the paperwork, he's preaching. And it just got to the point where he was not doing his job. See, this is what I'm talking about. It's like you're so spiritually minded, you're no earthly good. You've got women that are going around here saying that God is going to heal their body. God is going to heal their body. You weigh 420 pounds, don't exercise, poor diet, got high blood pressure, diabetes, arthritis, and a myriad of other problems. But you'll get up on Sunday morning and you'll go to church every single week and say that God is going to get rid of all those diseases for you. You're not being realistic. You're not being realistic. I can tell when I have extra weight on me. I have extra weight on me right now, but I'm actively getting rid of it because I don't want it to be a situation like that. I don't want to have life-threatening illnesses as a result of it. I really don't. But it's just another case of somebody being so spiritually minded and not earthly good. Common sense decisions. The average person who doesn't, who has a belief in God, but they're not, wholeheartedly committed, they would look at that situation and say, girl, get on a diet, join a gym. That's it. But they don't think that. They'll go running to church and say, God's going to do this. You're asking for too much, and you got resources right in front of you. God didn't create for you to have a relationship with him for you to be running around here like this. You're no earthly good to anybody. No earthly good. When you go to work and they hire you to do a job, the best way you can show God is to do the job to the best of your ability. Be the top whoever it is because you have such a good work ethic. Be polite. Be kind. Show respect to your supervisors. Be on time. Be the model employee. Go above and beyond. That's how you show God. Instead of coming in there thumping Bibles and bossing people around. Because your ass ain't going to have a job. You're not. It's the same thing that happens in relationships sometimes. I knew a gentleman. He couldn't keep a woman to save his life. Because he'll go out here in the world, not date anybody in the church, go out here in the world and will get the lowest type of woman that he could think of and have it in his mind. He going to fix her and going to convert her to God. So he'll sit there and try to use romance. And then and it doesn't take long for her to figure out that he's off his rocker. Every time he sees her, he wants to drag her to church. Now, if it's a different situation, if y'all agree to go, and if that's y'all thing, and the both of you agree to go, I'm talking about someone who will purposefully seek out the worst of the worst, so to speak, and will try to throw their doctrine on top, try to make her into something. It's like, dude, you go to a church, there's somebody there. It's like you're beating people over the head with doctrine. And they're not even asking for it. There's a time and a place for everything. I'm not going to feel sorry for you because you lost your job. You weren't doing your freaking job. And then the first thing that'll happen is they turn around and lose their job because of their foolishness. The first thing they'll say is, oh, well, they're not saved. And, it wasn't the right thing to do. And God's going to get them. No, you need to check yourself. Check your behavior. Accept things for the way they are. There's nothing wrong with accepting with what's going on right now. Just because the situation going on right now does not agree with you, does not give you the right to sit there and say God is going to change it. How do you know that? How do you know that? If it hasn't changed today, then don't worry about today. You got other things in your life that you are blessed with, and you worried about this one thing. All these other things in your life, and you worried about one thing. And I made this mistake in the past myself, sitting up there putting other things above God to the point where you are not even paying attention. And then the first thing you do is when you lose it, or you in a threat of losing it, you run into God asking him for help. He wants us to pay attention to what we have around us. Sometimes he don't need to give us anything, because most of us already have what we already have. We just need to pay attention and figure out the best way to use it. But some of y'all, I mean, come on now. And that's another reason why a lot of these people that are atheists and agnostics, they see y'all acting like this, and they're like, shoot, that person's so head so far up in the clouds talking about heaven, they ain't using no sense out here. Look at how crazy they're acting. Man, I'm better off doing what I'm doing. You have a responsibility in this world. You got to watch how you conduct yourself when you go outside. And if something doesn't go your way, or whatever the case may be, it's okay to get a little upset behind it for a little while, but don't turn around and say that God is going to fix this and God is going to fix that, when you know full and darn well that entire situation had nothing to do with God. You wasn't doing your job. You was at work. You were supposed to be there on time. You're supposed to take your breaks when you're supposed to take your breaks. You're supposed to show respect to your management when they talk to you. You're supposed to do your job to the best of your ability. And you want to come in there just because you got this newfound religion, you're a baby in it, and you want to sit there and regurgitate your doctrine. That's not the place to do it. And if it bothers you that much in that environment and it's so toxic, then you need to go find another job where they can let you carry on like that. Or open your own business. But you can't do that mess in there. People have businesses to run. And I'm not being cold-blooded, I'm just telling the truth. Because I'll be honest with you, I have a belief in God and everything too, and I have a job that I have to go to during the week. But I don't go in there, and every single one of us are believers. But the thing is when it's time to get some work done and we got deadlines, we got work to do. So, you guys, there's nothing wrong. Look, I applaud you if you have been converted and you developed a spiritual relationship with your Creator. That's a beautiful thing. But don't let that cloud your judgment as far as dealing with your day-to-day. Don't let that mess you up. Because you got to remember, you have to be an example and a testimony to those who are lost. And you can't do that if you run around here unhinged. So I just wanted to put that out there. Just saying.